Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. 'Tis I, Colton Robertson, and I'm joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
What up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it is always a pleasure to have you. If you are here, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you've listened to the Round of 64 Part 1, because this here is the Round of 64 Part 2. We got a whole tournament full of all the Marvel properties, not just MCU, but we're going all the way back to Blade and pretty much every live-action film since, maybe excluding one. But other than that, it's all here, all the shows, all the movies, and putting things against each other you never thought you would see, like kicking off this side of the bracket. We've got a 1 versus a 16, and Avengers: Infinity War versus X-Men: The Last Stand.
Now, let's not immediately jump the gun. Infinity War, yeah, great, cool movie and all. You know, I guess it's got some history leading up to it. But, like, Last Stand, though? I mean, okay. All right, yeah, it's Infinity War here.
Pretty much no contest. Like zero contest at all. Infinity War is just one of the better comic book movies we've ever seen, and X-Men: The Last Stand is actually on the complete opposite end of that spectrum, as in one of the worst comic book movies we've ever seen.
Yeah, I guess there are some cool things that happen in there. I guess that's kind of like all the bad X-Men movies. That's all you can really say is that, yeah, there were some cool things that I gotta see, happen. Mainly it's just like Magneto, because he's like always cool and like whatever he does. He always just looks badass, but
it's true.
But you can't really beat being lied to, in the trailer, expecting this to be a feel good. I don't know what we were expecting. Like, this is a part 1. We already knew it was a part 1, right? Going into it, is that, or did we have no idea?
Pretty much.
I think like they advertised it as like a part 1, right? Or was
essentially
it
like it was like a 2-part finale to the ending of the first saga of the Infinity Saga, you know what I'm saying?
we knew this was like, we still have a whole nother movie after this. I guess I don't know what we were expecting, thinking that we were going to be, happy walking out of that theater. I don't know. I guess who could have guessed that coming? I don't know. But
what just happened? We lost.
Like there was like legitimately people had to sit there and just think about like what actually happened. Like, like you kind of didn't really get it right away, because it was like, wait a minute, no way they actually just lost, right? Like,
no way they just actually killed off all of these characters.
Wait a minute, like, hold on here. And like that shock, like that movie theater experience, like just looking around at everyone, just dumbfounded, silent, just mouth wide open, just jaw on the floor. Like everyone was just like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God. And it wasn't even the end of the movie, because like by the end of the movie you have like, or no, that's Endgame, I guess. I'm thinking about that. But no, yeah, it does really just kind of end right there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Infinity War. It really does just bam. And never mind. Yeah, damn. That was an experience that will definitely stay with me for the rest of my life. That's for sure. I can't really say the same about The Last Stand.
Yeah, I can't say the same thing for The Last Stand. Avengers Infinity War holds a special place in my heart, and The Last Stand does too. You know, it's a nostalgic classic for me. I watched the shit out of that when I was little, and it wasn't until I developed critical thinking that I realized, wow, this movie is fucking bad.
Mm.
But yeah, I think I gotta go Infinity War, and it's not even close. But with that, on to the next one, which we've got a fun one here.
Oh yeah,
And an
this
8
one
versus
is
a 9 in the Avengers versus Thor Ragnarok.
two of the most overrated Avengers movies, in my opinion.
Two of the most overrated Marvel movies.
Yeah, like Ragnarok's put pretty high up. You helped me realize that one. For Ragnarok, I used to be in the camp of Ragnarok was like, yeah, freaking awesome. It's like the best. And then like I actually gave it a rewatch and like I don't know.
I mean, it's fun.
It's fun.
Like, and that's
it's
the
great.
thing
Yeah,
is like it's fun and there are pretty colors, but like in terms of like visual appeal and story building, it's just kind of like a left turn for Thor. You know, you get Thor and Thor the Dark World, and those are very visually distinct movies. Anyone telling you that Thor Ragnarok is the richest visual film in the Thor franchise is lying to you. Thor the Dark World is actually very, very satisfying to look at, and so is the first Thor. But
yeah, and the first Avengers, like everyone says that this movie, like I don't know, maybe it's just like Iron Man 1, you know, that you kind of hold it to a higher esteem for some reason because it's the first team up movie. But like Age of Ultron is better, and people say that that's a worse movie. People say that it's one of like the worst MCU movies that there is, which is kind of ridiculous. It's cool, you know. Loki carries the MCU early on there for a while, so thank you, Loki.
All the Avengers movies are in this part of the bracket,
and so ooh, interesting. Yeah, we got a Avengers heavy
corner up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
But yeah, interesting to think of like which one's better here. Like, because I like both of them, but I do like
think both of them,
and
that's the other thing.
Overrated.
I know we kind of like loaded on the negativity up front here, but I do enjoy both of these movies. And I've rewatched the Avengers more recently. It's actually, I think up to this point, the only Marvel movie I've watched all the way through in 2022. I haven't given a lot of them looksies besides Blade last night. But MCU wise, the Avengers is definitely my most recent watch, and I think I like this movie more than I like Thor Ragnarok. And
that's what I was going to say.
I think there's a certain rewatchability to it that I don't. I've tried to get behind the Thor Ragnarok, like
the wave.
Yeah, and because people think that's like one of the most rewatchable films, one of the most funny, one of the most fun, and it is one of the most fun, undeniably. There are some awesome things that happen in that movie.
Go watch Guardians of the Galaxy if you want that.
All right, yeah, I think Thor Ragnarok's just like not. It's just like they were trying to switch him to the Guardians side of things, and it's definitely a direction I wanted them to head in. And I'm glad they have, because I think the products we're going to be getting will be better than Thor Ragnarok. But it was just a hard pivot to take on.
That's a whole nother like side of Marvel that we haven't even really been thinking about. Like we've only been really thinking about Wanda, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange for like the good guys, and for bad guys we've been thinking Kang and multiverse, basically. Yeah, like but like we still have the whole Guardians crew, like Thor. We have Natalie Portman coming back. You have Thor probably going off just with the Guardians, and then Natalie Portman doing whatever like she's gonna do.
She's gonna be Thor now too. So like
which is insane. Like we still have Captain Marvel doing what she's doing. Like we still have like all of these people that are doing stuff like right now, which is insane to think about. But I mean,
the universe is just so big.
Yeah, I'm with you in the Avengers being better. Like it like I know I did kind of shit on it for being overrated, but like it still is a very fun movie, and it like remember watching it for the first time, like I
Oh
love the
man.
hell out of it, like so, of all the bad things I can't say, it's just that movies have gotten better since this first Avengers movie, and like we expect a lot more out of movies, nowadays, but back in the time, like when this came out, it was amazing, I loved it and I rewatched it all the time, so.
The only thing that I think the Avengers actually is like damaged by is the further development of Loki's character. Like going back and watching the Avengers, it's weird as fuck watching Loki be the way he is, because he's like, because all the while, he never even really wanted to be like that. He just was like that. And like, it's just kind of like, I liked it more when I framed him as just an evil son of a bitch who wanted to murder and take over the planet. And that was kind of it. However, now I like Loki more than I did when the Avengers came out. So like there's kind of a balance there where my appreciation for the Avengers went down the more I liked Loki. My appreciation for Loki went up the more the Avengers felt weird to me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a complicated little balance there. And I mean, like, we don't get the Thor we love. I mean, not the Thor we love, the Loki we love later on in Thor Ragnarok without, the step in the Avengers, I don't think. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Loki and Bucky really carrying hard.
I'm thinking about Thor Ragnarok right now. Thor Ragnarok's, it's got some good elements. I'm thinking to Heimdall, the whole him going on the run and protecting the people of Asgard from Hela, like that whole storyline was super dope. The Surtur coming back to, cleanse Asgard, and that being what ultimately stops Hela.
That damn okay, and Odin.
It's I'm a completely flip my side here. Like, I love the Avengers movie for what it was. Man, this is a hard one, and it makes sense that they're an 8 and a 9.
Let's lay out like what each movie kind of did. Like Avengers, we have the first big attack on Earth. Like this was
Avengers team up.
The first Avengers team up. This is where all of Tony's PTSD is fueled from. He's sent that missile back through, fell back, hype. We got Hulk being always angry, which kind of doesn't really make sense, and they didn't really talk about that a whole lot. Let's get past that. Hawkeye doing, I guess, some cool Hawkeye things. He's at the top of the building. Kate Bishop saw him, right here. We didn't know that until now, but like Kate Bishop was watching him in this moment jump off a building, and so like
I will say this. I think that the Avengers is a bigger, like an obviously more impactful point in the MCU. But thinking back to Thor Ragnarok and the story being told, I think it's better than the story the Avengers was telling. And that's kind of like, I needed to reframe it that way instead of it being just about what movie was more impactful to this universe.
I completely forgot about like Hela and like that side. I was only thinking like Thor versus Hulk, like pretty much for the movie, because that's like the fun part, But then like the whole,
and I mean, Sakaar is dope. Like, I need to just rewatch the movie, like, and that's the thing, that every time we talk about these things, like, the further removed I am from watching, the poorer I look back on it. But like, and then as soon as I watch it again or like really think about it, I'm like, man, I really did enjoy that movie though, didn't I?
Like, the sad thing about Ragnarok is that you kind of leave Ragnarok being like, okay, Asgard's gone. Like, yeah, that sucks. But at least they can like find a new home and they're all on this ship, Like, at least they found a way out. And then Infinity War immediately starts with the death of this ship. And it's just like, damn, man. Like,
and that's another thing, is that the story elements they're laying out for you are objectively sad. Like, incredibly devastating. The destruction of this land we've been watching for 10 years almost. And then
it's like if Earth got destroyed. Like,
It just
it's
felt
the
like it was
same
played
level.
for
Yeah,
there was just a lot of it was just really comedic. And like even in the moment where Asgard is destroyed, they like Korg is like, these are the foundations of a new society you could build. We will build the bones back. Yeah, sorry about that. like that's just
Yeah, and I don't know. I think they just found that the people like the more comedic Thor better than the brute Asgardian Thor.
Right.
And I guess it's you could look at it as Marvel just making the change, to just appeal to the people more, or like he spent his time with on Earth, and that's what changed him, and he actually developed like a personality, and like with Loki and stuff like that. So like I choose to look at it more that way, so it's not just so
yeah, I get you.
like the switch up, but
I can get behind that too, and I actually think that I am gonna pivot and put my vote back with Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going back to the Avengers.
No. But
Okay.
I meant like I wanted to firmly state that I think I've changed my choice to Thor Ragnarok over the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah, like remembering what that movie actually is, and like it objectively is probably a better movie. Like
it is. It just is.
It is. Yeah, I'm comfortable. I'm fully comfortable moving it on. Technically an upset, but pretty much not. They're like in the same exact league, I'd say, of like this is like a pretty fair matchup.
And see, that's the thing too, is that like I also wouldn't have thought to compare these, and that's why like the seeding ends up the way it did. Avengers was an 8, Thor Ragnarok was a 9, and when I actually thought about it and like really pitted them against each other, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I like Ragnarok more than I like Avengers. So sometimes it ends up a little twisted like that, but sometimes we reap the benefits. So yeah, Thor Ragnarok over the Avengers there.
There we are.
Next up, we've got a 5 versus a 12, and Avengers Endgame versus Netflix original series Jessica Jones.
Now let's let Jessica Jones have a win here. Endgame is a little overrated, It's really Infinity War that makes Endgame great. No, but
no,
Endgame
I think you're right.
It for real. Like you don't really watch Endgame just to watch Endgame. It's like you watch Infinity War and then you're like, oh fuck, now I have to watch Endgame. It's not really like I'm just gonna watch Endgame.
I definitely don't go out of my way to just watch Endgame very often.
Yeah, and like
ever.
You fast forward maybe to like the end battle or something like that. Watch Cap, pick up Mjolnir, or you watch the big moments or something like that. But I mean, I'm talking like it's about to lose against Jessica Jones here.
No,
but
it's definitely not losing to Jessica Jones. But no, Jessica Jones is actually a pretty decent series too. Definitely one of on the better side of Netflix Marvel stuff. Jessica Jones is, but it's it's not the culmination of 12 years of storytelling across 23 movies.
The literal top grossing show of all, or movie of all time. Literally did in front of Avatar. Actually,
no, Avatar passed.
No way.
Yeah, they re-released it. They re-released it somewhere in theaters.
No way they did.
Yeah, Avatar took that title back.
Did No Way Home get? Is it like up on the
No Way
top,
Home is like
5,
a 6, is like top 8, I think. I think it got 8th.
Interesting. I did not know it retook it. That's amazing. It is back on top by almost a good $100 billion. So like
$100 billion?
Almost
100 million.
Sorry, million. Yes,
I was going to say
did not make $1 trillion.
Billion?
Yes, this movie did not make almost $3 trillion. No, it almost made $3 billion. My bad. That'd be insane if
I was
Avatar
like, wait
was on
a
the
minute.
same level as like Apple. So, my bad there. But yeah, Endgame is number 2. The Force Awakens number 4.
Yeah,
which is insane. Age of Ultron is 12. Wow. The Avengers is 9. No Way Home is 8. Wow, that's crazy. A lot of Marvel movies up here. That's But yeah, Endgame. I mean,
I'm also pretty sure that there's only one movie in the top, either one or two movies in the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time that is not a franchise movie or sequel.
and
In the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time, I think there's only one that's not a franchise or a sequel.
is it Titanic?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess Avatar.
Apparently there's an Avatar too.
I mean, there is, so like I guess it's becoming, but as of right now. But yeah, like Jurassic World, definitely a it's not even the original. You got Lion King.
Semi-franchise.
Yeah. Furious 7, definitely a franchise there. Star Wars.
Furious 7 is
that's number 10.
5?
That's number 10.
10.
Yeah, that's number 10 is Furious 7. Top 10 goes Furious 7, The Avengers, Spider-Man No Way Home, The Lion King, Jurassic World, Infinity War, The Force Awakens, Titanic, then Endgame, and Avatar.
Man, so, Titanic deserves some fucking credit for still being top 3 on that fucking list. That's insane.
James Cameron, I guess, just knows how to make a top-grossing movie, man.
God damn, 2 of the top 3 highest grossing movies of all time. That man
knows how to make $3 trillion from a movie. Insane. What a guy.
But no, yeah, Avengers Endgame over Jessica Jones. I think it's nary need be talked about. But on to the next one, as we have a 4 versus a 13 in Thor versus Spider-Man. Sorry about that. Spider-Man's the 4. Thor is the 13. Yeah, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, Thor was already like forgotten in our list over here. I guess it was more of like a typing mistake and whatever. But like,
probably wouldn't have been a 13. Like, probably would have been a little higher.
I kind of hate how like the first couple Thor movies are like forgettable and they're not like good because like I don't know, maybe I just like Asgard and like that storyline more than other people, but like I love the Thor movies. Like,
oh, me too. When I was growing up, like I wasn't Team Cap. I wasn't Team Iron Man. I fucked with Thor, bro. I didn't give a shit about Iron Man or Captain America when I was 12. That was my dude. This man shot lightning out of a hammer. Are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm. And he could fly with his hammer. He could yeah. I mean, I was all up in Tony's business. I was Team Iron Man. Cap, I really didn't care about, so he was just kind of there. I really cared about the people around him more. But yeah, Thor, like. I was all about Thor and like Odin and like all the mythology and stuff like that. Maybe that's why I was, tuned to it a little more. Cause like, my brain, I immediately go big in everything.
Right.
That I think of, and Odin and Thor and all these people kind of lend to that pretty easily. Like I can pretty easily say that like Odin had every Infinity Stone, way before Thanos, so like I can go there pretty easily. Like there's a lot of grand things you can say with Thor.
Right.
So, but as it compares to the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man origin movie,
facing off with Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn for the first time,
an absolute menace, dude. My literal childhood in a movie. Yeah, like
honey.
My literal childhood in a movie right here. Love you, Thor, but you're not Spidey. I'm sorry.
You're just not.
This movie changed my life. Like you can't really say that about a movie, about too many movies.
But yeah, this one certainly had an impact on me at a young age. Like I think Spider-Man, Star Wars. Those are probably the 2 most formative movies on my entire childhood. You know what I'm saying? And like, what Star Wars movie I could take your fucking pick. But like, Yeah, Spider-Man for sure was huge for me when I was
Can
younger,
we
and the
just
Batman
talk
animated
about
series. That was the
how
other thing.
Return of the Jedi is the best out of every original movie, and like why it's not like why do people think that Empire is like I don't know. That's like what we're in the different universe here. But
God,
like,
but I the reason I know I love Star Wars like infinitely more than I like Marvel, like, and I love Marvel. I would absolutely stop this podcast 25 minutes in and go on that with you, and we could just start talking about the original trilogy if you wanted. Like that, like, I don't give a shit about this if we're about to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I was definitely lightsaber dueling my brother more than I was swinging around as Spider-Man. So I could, even, I put Spider-Man up there. He is up there, but like, I was a Jedi more than I was a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
More than I was Peter Parker. But Spider-Man still beats out Thor.
There's no doubt.
Here. So yeah, I mean, got some interesting matchups definitely coming. Like these are all like
this second round right
it's
here already looks
strong.
sexy.
Yeah, it's this one is gonna be hard.
Yeah. And this next one's gonna be even fucking harder, baby. We've got a 3 versus a 14 in Doctor Strange versus X2, and man, this is difficult. Boy, oh boy, is it hard to say goodbye to X2 so quickly and so easily.
Yeah, Doctor Strange is like, if I had to choose one solo, like solo movie, like I kind of exclude Guardians from that.
Oh yeah, I did too. Guardians and Civil War.
Like Doctor Strange is probably my favorite solo movie outside of Black Panther.
I was gonna say it's top 3 for me.
And then
it's top
I guess
3.
there's Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Oh man, Doctor Strange might be top. It's top 3. It's top 3, maybe top 4. Ooh, I don't know. It's definitely top 3.
He's up there.
Origin movies. It's definitely top 3. I'll say
true.
that.
Yeah, like visuals here, you have buildings literally folding into themselves and like the mirror dimension and like Dormammu, like you know, we got some crazy stuff going on.
The movie's fantastic, and the soundtrack by Michael Giacchino.
Like it. This movie's just amazing. X2 was actually, I think, the first X-Men movie I ever watched. I think.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm pretty sure, like, it just so happened that, like, I got that DVD or VA, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. At the time, it was like, oh, I guess I'll watch it. They weren't really concerned with continuity, but of course, I start with like a literal sequel movie. Like the one where they actually somewhat care about continuity.
Right.
But that just that's part of the whole Foxman experience, maybe that's even better.
You can just jump in wherever,
So, but cool stuff happened there.
It's not Doctor Strange.
I'll say the same thing for every X-Men movie that loses. Basically, is cool stuff happened in there, but it's not.
Just wasn't
X.
that good.
Yeah, it's not. It's not Y. Can't really use X.
Yeah. Oh, it is X.
It is.
It literally
X.
is X.
Professor.
But yeah, Doctor Strange definitely takes it over X2. It's just a better movie, and it is one of the more focused and narrow story arcs of any character we've seen. And the ones where I think otherwise, like, are my other favorite solo movies, Black Panther and Shang-Chi and Spider-Man Homecoming, shit like that. Like, those are narrow, straight to the point, me versus you sort of things, like, and the Dormammu Doctor Strange face off with the overlapping there with Mads Mikkelsen being the bad guy.
I love how he wasn't the Sorcerer Supreme. How, like, I don't know. I was always sus of it. I'm like, there has to be like some.
They're gonna like mention that.
Yeah, like there has to be something. Like, there's no way he just became the Sorcerer Supreme in the gaps of these movies, and we're just accepting that. Like, there has to be something more going on there. And
he's not the Sorcerer Supreme.
And oh yeah, I mean, you know, Doctor Strange was already going to beat out X2 anyways, but like now he's like in the hype. You know, he's like on the hype train now. So like it's even already
this tournament will probably culminate around. Oh, I guess it got pushed back to May. I was thinking like if it was still in March, this tournament would probably conclude around its original release date in March. But
so I'm ready for Doctor Strange. I'm ready for some mind busting action with Wanda, you know, as well. Whatever they're doing together, I'm in. Whether they're killing every human, I'm still in. I don't care. I love them too. I love those two that much. But yeah, I'm thinking Doctor Strange pulls the dub here.
Oh, certainly. But on to the next. We've got a 6 and an 11 with Avengers Age of Ultron going off against Blade. And I can assuredly say, coming off of my viewing of Blade just last night, that Avengers Age of Ultron is an immensely better film. We can't dismiss Blade for its importance, you know? First Marvel live action movie that was worth a shit. And it's fun as fuck to watch. I certainly won't dismiss that. It's definitely a compelling and fun action-packed watch, but the story you're getting in Avengers Age of Ultron is just a lot better than the story you're getting in Blade.
Yeah, and this is my boy here. So whatever this movie was going up against first round, like I was gonna root for it pretty much no matter what. Can't have it take an L right away, you know, unless it was going up against like I don't even want to think about it losing, so I'll just stop there. But yeah, like one of the most underrated Avengers movies.
I'm looking at its path right now, and it's like it could go pretty deep. It's
okay. It's okay. Like I see the future. It's pretty short. I don't know, but that's the thing about this tournament is that like all of these things are strong. Like even though like Age of Ultron is a 6 seed, like that seems low, like, you know, like for like an Age of Ultron like movie like that, but that's the thing is that's how heavily this bracket is weighted, that like even at a 6 seed you're still like up there.
You're still a hell yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm excited to watch Blade. Actually, you know, so I can actually give an opinion on it. Can't really do that, but I can speak for Age of Ultron. He's coming back. Thanos was right. Will just go away because everyone will believe in Ultron and believe that he was right. Probably not. Ultron's a little more mean than Thanos, I think.
Yeah, he has a vision for the universe that Thanos didn't even have.
He went all the way, you could say, or if he was able to go.
Well, and I mean, like Thanos went all the way at one point too. He was like, all right, fine. You know what? I'll wipe this universe down to its last atom and I'll rebuild. There was no rebuilding the shit though with Ultron. Like that was like, it was just like, if it could go away, it would go away. And that'd be for the best.
I did, last night after I watched Dead Poet Society, I needed a pick me up.
You did need a palate cleanser.
So I watched, episode 7 and 8 of What If, or whatever the last 2 episodes are.
8 and 9.
If Ultron won, and then if the Watcher intervened. Watched those last night, so I got my Ultron fix again. And man, like I don't know if I just love the concept of Ultron's character or just like the nature of what he brings. I don't know, but I can never get enough, and I hope we get him live action just a little bit. You know, just give me just a teeny little bit. That's all I need. I already got
the crumbs.
I already got everything I needed in What If. So like, right. I'm already cool. But yeah, the live action
anymore is just the cherry on top.
Yeah, even this live action Ultron that we got, he was only on Earth. You know, he didn't even know about the worlds beyond Earth. You know,
there are worlds beyond my own.
I can see everything. Oh, like those. It's so nerdy of me to like. I get goosebumps like whenever he says those lines, and like whenever he's like basking in the silence. I'm just like, that's my. Whenever I say that's my boy, in no way do I agree with him. I want to make
the
that
character,
clear.
the character itself is just dope.
I just love him as a villain. Like I in no way agree with him at all. I just him succeeding just automatically means it's gonna be fun and cool to watch for a little bit. Yeah,
it's cool content.
And this is the MCU. It is meant for kids, kind of at the end of the day. So even if he wins, he ultimately will not win at the end. So
Right.
like I'm
As
in
we
it
saw
for
in
both
What
sides.
If.
I root for him a lot, but I'm in no way.
You
on
don't
his
want him
side.
to win
Yeah.
all the way.
Yeah. I mean, if they go that route and he does win all the way, I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of like killing the business, literally, because like no one would know
that
longer
would be
exist.
the end of the Marvel franchise.
Which would be kind of funny if like somehow Disney goes bankrupt for some reason and then Marvel like ceases to exist. They're just like, fuck it. All right, Ultron's winning. That's how we're going out. Have him just kill everybody. But all in all, Age of Ultron beats out Blade. Maybe.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm comfortable. I'm certainly comfortable with that. But on to the next one. We've got a 7 versus a 10 in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 versus Thor: The Dark World. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a little disappointed. I'm a little disappointed because I was really hoping we could get Thor: The Dark World somewhere in this bracket. But it's going off against one of my favorite Spider-Man movies against my favorite Spidey. Maybe not nostalgically, but like watching him on screen is just electric.
I mean, Electro. Like, we already have Andrew's part of this movie, which is great and fantastic. But then you also have, Jamie Foxx as Electro. I guess
Green Goblin.
Yeah, like, in a cool, like, a lot of people hate on that adaptation of the Goblin, but like, I think it's kind of cool to make it like a DNA, like some, family thing instead of, just him hopping up in the gas chamber and gassing himself and then him becoming psychopath, so
it's
like
inevitable for the family line. If you're a man, you're gonna come down with you're gonna go goblin mode one day.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. And, that they were a lot more creative with this movie. You could tell like Sony, they were a lot more open with this movie than, Marvel was with the Tobey movies and the Tom movies. The Tom movies, they had to adhere to the MCU, so obviously they were restricted there. And then for the Tobey movies, there was just a time where a movie like this wouldn't really work. So like this was kind of like the first real stab at like a Spidey that they could really do whatever they wanted with. And like you made a good point like earlier that like I can make web fluid, like that whole concept was a thing now. Like anyone can be Spider-Man, more along that line instead of having to get bitten by a radioactive spider, like, yeah, just incredibly fun movies. And that's what Andrew Garfield says about it. Like in all these interviews after No Way Home, he's like, when he's asked if he put on the suit again, he's like, yes, I will, but it has to be fun and dynamic. He always uses the word fun whenever he talks about Spider-Man. And that's I don't
what it's
know.
about,
yeah. And like those movies are fun, like you have him like up like a thug, and like just chatting up, like the small talk he has like with thugs as he's just like webbing them up or climbing all over them. And, just like, yeah, like this dude's awesome. And like he loves Spider-Man. He like truly loves Spider-Man. And you can just tell through his movies. And sorry to the Dark World. I said that like Avengers and Ragnarok were overrated. This would be a movie that's very underrated. Like get past the dark elves or weird whatever camp that people are in, because that's like all people can say about this movie is that like dark elves are weird.
I'm still confused. Like I don't ever actually even see like arguments like that go along with it. It's usually now just considered like gospel that Thor the Dark World is a bad movie. And frankly, like it's more enjoyable than a lot of Marvel movies.
If you have
Like,
an opinion
a
of a
lot of
movie that's just an opinion because it's someone else's, why? Like movies are like completely subjective, and you take different things out of movies than someone else. So like if you're judging like your opinion on a movie just off of the knowledge that the movie's bad or whatever, like
The importance of nonconformity.
yeah, like yeah, you know, talk about another life-changing movie, Dead Poet Society. Like actually, like legitimately seeing that
man
movie, like
preaches to you, and you're like, I'm gonna go write a fucking poem.
so, like yeah, wow. So yeah, like the Dark World, like a lot of I bet a lot of people don't actually know what happens in this movie. They just know that it's bad, so they think it's bad, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm a Marvel fan. I know this movie sucks. Ha ha ha! Look at me. I know the critical review, you know, or whatever." But like, just go watch it. It's actually like good and cool and
Fun.
and
Like
mythical.
it's
and,
another
yeah,
one of
like,
those just like crazy. Like it has another one of the best Heimdall scenes there is. Whenever he runs down the bridge and slices into the side of the Dark Elf ship, like that shit was dope as fuck. And there's a lot of those moments in that movie. And God, I really really enjoy Thor: The Dark World. But again, you're gonna have a tough time beating the Spider-Man movies. That's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, I guess we did have, you know, Ragnarok beating an Avengers movie. So like Avengers movies and Spider-Man movies are going to be pretty hard to beat. But like, I don't know, we did have a Thor movie beat one already. So,
you know, and we have only had one Spider-Man movie lose. And that's because it was facing a Spider-Man movie.
It was bound to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
That's just how it works out though. You know, the randomness of how it worked out. It had to happen that way. So
yeah, it did.
Oh, okay. Next one.
Pretty simple. We got a 2 versus a 15 and Black Panther versus Blade 2. The answer is Black Panther, and it's not close.
Arguably,
I can't imagine Blade 2 is better than Blade.
The most important Marvel movie to ever come out. Like, actually, like, you know, if we're talking in the words of someone PhD, you know, the importance and the whatever, you know, on the horizontal, this has
the Pritchard scale.
This has a very big area, is what I'm trying to get at, is that its importance and its beauty is top tier, and like a culturally impactful movie in the sense of it's not just an Infinity War where it shocked the culture. It like legitimately like sparked uprisings and like revolution almost. So like this movie is just like in a league kind of on its own, like kind of almost deserves to be in like Yo What the Fuck for that alone.
Right.
Like,
the cultural moment that Black Panther had, it just hasn't been touched by another movie in my lifetime anyway. Like I mean, the only thing that came even like kind of close in terms of hype for any of it was Endgame, but that was for a completely other reason. It's all the storytelling over the last 10 years. Spider-Man No Way Home, but that's 20 years of storytelling coming to a head with Toby and Andrew coming in, and we all expected that. Black Panther is the first black superhero. Like, and I cannot pick out a moment of hype bigger than it. It was just
the legitimate like Wakanda Forever and like the hand signal that like people did, you know, like that was legitimate like worldwide and like kind of like a symbol for like Black Lives Matter for like a good amount of time. Like it was legitimately like, that's crazy from a Marvel movie. Like they can create, you know, such a simple symbol and like it used in the movie and like it just was immediately grabbed and like you just like knew it was like I don't know, it like the world being crazy at that time, you know, to like ton of shit going on, and we have this movie that like kind of pulled us all together, you know, which was just amazing. And T'Challa
pulled
like
us all together if you're not a racist.
Yeah, true. If you have some compassion in your heart, this movie was pretty badass. And
yeah, and maybe it's a bit disrespectful to throw the first black superhero name on it, considering it's facing Blade
damn.
2.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
No, yeah, that's what's funny too, is that like it's the first black hero in the MCU, but it was also the first black person led superhero movie since Blade Trinity.
That's crazy.
I mean, we'd gotten Terrence Howard and Don Cheadle's War Machine, but he's not out here leading it. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean,
so, like,
outside of the cultural impact of this movie, like the movie itself is also just a masterpiece. Like the amount of story they put into this one movie is insane. And like just an infinitely like rewatchable movie. The soundtrack is, like, thank you, Kendrick, for that album. And
thank you, Ludwig Göransson, for the original, the soundtrack as well.
And thank you, Chadwick Boseman, for that performance. This movie just has everything going for it. The only weird part is like the fight scene between T'Challa and Killmonger, like when they're down in the trains, the CGI is just a little off. But like, if that's all you're having to complain about a movie, then like I think it did pretty well. But yeah, I see this one going pretty far.
It'll go pretty far if I had to guess based off where we're at. But with that, on to the next one, where we have a 2 versus a 15 in the Netflix original series Daredevil versus Blade Trinity, and couple Blade matchups right there back to back. Sadly, no Blade film will be making it out of the first round.
Yeah, we kind of had like a Blade trilogy right here. We had like 4 matchups, and then of those 4, we had all the Blades right in a row. So we're sadly getting rid of all of them, like off rip. But
they're just not as good as the stuff it's coming up against.
I mean, yeah, you can't. There's no way it's beating Daredevil. Like, this show is a masterpiece. It's beautifully crafted. It's just, I want to be Matt Murdock, you know? If I would fully, I guess he's not really blind, but I would step in his shoes immediately, man. This dude is just a badass,
as I'm watching I'm watching the finale, right? And this take just like scurried across my brain. Went in one ear, went out the other, and I was like, oh my God. Is Daredevil a better superhero than Batman? And the answer is yes.
He's literally Batman. Like
without the resources.
Exactly. Like he has
including
the same
sight.
Yeah, the same conversations that Batman has. You know, like I can't kill. That's the one line. He even stops people from killing, like Batman does. Like, I guess, you know, you have like him making his own suit. He has his ninja training, basically. You know, like he has his Ra's al Ghul. It's a better Batman story, which is like insane. Like, he doesn't need the billions and billions of dollars. Instead, he's a lawyer that's struggling to make a name for himself. And like, it adds like this super cool dynamic of him staying in the law, but him breaking it to be the Daredevil. You know, like at the same time, like it is a better Batman story. Like
it's crazy when because I've known who Daredevil is, and I've read some comic books, but when I watched this series, and after I started watching the series, I was like, well, okay, I'm pretty much exclusively going to read Daredevil comic books here for a little bit. I didn't anticipate when I started watching the Daredevil series that I would have a new like top 5 favorite superhero, and definitely one of my favorite portrayals of all time. Like, Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock is fucking fantastic, and Daredevil is just one of the coolest superheroes of all time. And I'm just disappointed I didn't see it sooner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank God he's in the MCU and like they're sticking with him, because like,
and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
Like, it's like insane to me that he has to act blind. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, do they put like contacts in his eyes that legitimately block him so he like is blind, or like is he on set like seeing, like still looking, but like to look blind, like their eyes don't move, like his eyes do not move, like whenever he doesn't have his glasses on, you see his eyes, like he's
Right.
like he looks legitimately like blind,
No,
like,
yeah, he does. Whenever his eyes are wide open and he's just like focused on one spot, he's not moving his eyes at all. It is really impressive.
to have to do that and then like have the performance that he has, like just how great his performance is, and like his facial expressions and like the emotion that you get from him, and like, oh my God, he just does such a good job. Like, and I'm so glad they brought him in and that we're getting more in any way. I don't care. Just give me more. Like, I love that man. And he, like, Charlie Cox in real life, he's just like another dude. Like, he doesn't like see himself like as a celebrity, like all the paparazzi, like pictures you see him in, he's just like hanging out, like as a, like, I know he's a perfect fit for the MCU.
Right.
And
have you seen the pictures of him, him and Tom Hiddleston, where he's cosplaying as Loki and Tom Hiddleston's cosplaying as Daredevil?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like, oh man, he's just already like already so fun, like in himself, and he's already like had a good relationship with a lot of the Marvel crew already. And maybe that's, they knew, like, I don't know, maybe he's been working like behind the scenes a lot, like in a lot of stuff. I don't know, and like I don't know, maybe they knew that he was coming in beforehand, but makes sense that like his friend groups, that he's friends with all these people and
right
and stuff. But
no, yeah, I take Daredevil over Blade Trinity, and I take Daredevil over most things. Going to be kind of hard to take that one down. I could see that one going all the way to the Elite Eight. Nevertheless, on to the next. We've got a 7 versus a 10 in Black Widow versus Spider-Man 3.
Is this as easy as we think?
No, I don't think it is. But I do think we will ultimately end up going with the gut instinct Black Widow. Spider-Man 3, I think we'll have to say goodbye to a Spider-Man movie for the first time.
Damn.
That is not against a Spider-Man movie.
Arguably the worst Spider-Man movie there is, though.
It's my least favorite. It's the one below Far From Home for me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that if this is the worst Spider-Man movie there is, like,
we've done pretty good on Spider-Man movies.
Like, it's the meme movie, like they were just on another level while making this. But like it legitimately has some good things about it. Like the Sandman storyline, like I thought was like, that's an amazing villain. Like, not an actual villain, like, for real. Like, just a dude that got caught up in a really bad situation, and like you felt for him. Like you like really sympathized for him, and like even in this crazy movie where a lot of goofy things are happening, like you're still like, you still sympathize for him. And then you have Harry, that whole dynamic of him forgetting about everything, hitting his head, which is interesting. So like, even though this movie's looked at as like a meme movie, or like it's the worst, or like whatever, it's still a Spider-Man movie, and it's still like super fun to watch and everything. But Black Widow is just like an actual good movie.
Yeah, I can confidently say that this is the best Black Widow movie.
That's true.
There's no doubt about it. It is the only one. However, it is a really, really good one. And I think this is, if we're looking at it, these are a couple movies that are overhated, I think. In some circles, and in other circles, specifically Spider-Man 3, overrated. There are people who think Spider-Man 3 is genuinely like a fucking great movie, and I just like, I cannot get behind that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, blinded by nostalgia is what that is. If you think Spider-Man 3 is as great as it was when you were 7. But no, Black Widow, I think it'll stand the test of time, and I think people will look back on it fonder than they might have reacted initially. Like, I'm just still so annoyed that people are like, Taskmaster, the worst MCU villain. Taskmaster is not even the villain in that movie. So, and I get the gripes with like comic accuracy and so on and so forth, but like if it's in service of a better story, which is what we got, isn't that cool? And I'll hear the argument. I'll hear the argument like, well, then they should have just made it a different character. It's not Taskmaster. It's like, well, then, sorry.
That's the thing about comic book accuracy and like keeping to whatever like source material. Like it's the same thing in Star Wars. Why do you want it to just be a rip from the comics? You know, like the story's already there. You would know what happens if everything is just logic based and the characters are doing whatever the character would do. The story would suck. Like there wouldn't be a story. You know, the actual point of watching a movie is for the story. You know, not just to see these characters play out whatever they would do. So like it's the same thing with Book of Boba. People want Boba just to be the Boba that we saw, but the Boba that we saw was total of 4 minutes, you know, like or whatever. Like so people are just like they don't want change or something. Like I don't know like what it is. Like it doesn't make much sense like to just want to know what would happen, you know, whatever, like and not be surprised with character development and stuff like that. But I don't know. Maybe just I don't know. Ever since I went into movies like with zero expectations and stuff like that was a really big switch for me. Just like not caring what other people said about the movie and really just taking the movie experience like for what it's supposed to be. And it's like a truly like one-on-one experience, you know, like it's not meant to be this experience you're having with everybody else. It's supposed to teach you something, or at the very least get you aware of something or something like that. And
yeah, and to a degree, that's certainly the case. And you know, I think that there's also many people who would take the perspective that you know, it doesn't have to do that though, which is also like, and if that's how you want to watch movies, that's how you want to watch movies. And like that's also ultimately the point, is that I think that people should let people like the things that they like, because none of us are approaching anything the same exact way. So it's like, I'm here to watch it for fun. You're here to watch it for logic. You're going to have a different opinion than me. And I'm going to feel bad for you for that. But you don't have to tell me to fuck off and that I'm an idiot for this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. And
Star Wars Twitter specifically is just a toxic fucking place that's like horrifying to be around.
No one, like, hearing opinions of movies is like just to kind of a reminder that the world still sucks a little bit. Like with people that just can't like accept like a female in like the lead role, you know, still like just that simple fact. And then the fact that she's a badass female and that there's multiple of them. And it's like the people that just can't accept that, which is like just sad that you can't watch a movie, which is fiction, and just have a good time watching it, you know, whatever.
Right.
But like,
and Black Widow is just a perfect example of one of those movies. It's just like, this movie's badass, and if you're not fucking with it, I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's on you at that point. But yeah, Black Widow edges out Spider-Man 3 for me. And it wasn't even particularly close, I don't think. But on to the next one. We've got a 6 versus an 11, and Deadpool versus the Fantastic Four. And I mean, like, this is another one that I'm kind of in the camp I was with Thor: The Dark World earlier, where it's like, I'm disappointed, but like, we got to say goodbye. Because I really love that Fantastic Four movie. I love it. It's so much fun to watch. And I like if you catch me on a certain day of the week, perhaps it can advance past these first couple of rounds, but that's just a bad choice. That's just a bad choice.
I mean, the only thing that like the Fantastic Four that I'm like still holding on for right now is where we just talked about it, and how like there's gonna be a moment where Chris Evans comes back and it's, you know, he's gonna look like Cap, but then flame on, and like it just has to happen now that, like, you said it, you know, like, and how funny and beautiful and like how it just works, like in every aspect. Like, I don't know. I like for No Way Home, like I was of the camp of like, don't expect them to do anything because you'll only be disappointed, you know, like whatever. Like, I mean, Zendaya said, like in the movie, you know, they're very self-aware of this. But like, if they
Right.
don't do this moment, you know, like it's handed to them on a platter, you know, like, oh, like,
And I just know they did that in Spider-Man No Way Home so that they were like, expect disappointment. You'll never be disappointed. So like, don't be expecting to see anybody later.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, psych, bitch. But no, I think that's just too golden of an opportunity to refuse for the probably Multiverse of Madness, you know, like for a second cameo. Like, I don't want Chris Evans sticking around as Johnny Storm or anything, but like, you know, they're doing cameos. He specifically is doing tons of cameos. So like, I think it would just make a ton of sense if that's what ended up happening. But Deadpool is Deadpool. And I think we'll be getting Deadpool's first appearance in the MCU and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Oh. Why do you think that?
That's my suspicion. That's how he'll be folded in multiversally, is Deadpool just popping up in Multiverse of Madness.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if he started all of this, actually? You know, it was like whenever he went back in time to like almost kill baby Hitler and like do all these things, like that's what actually like started all of this. Like multiverse. Everything's fucked up because of Deadpool. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him. You know, if he's coming, man, Ryan Reynolds like is Deadpool, like, you know, like in real life, like as Robert Downey Jr. like is like kind of Iron Man. Like they're just for the role, they fit the role very well. Perfect. And yeah, I'm excited for any more Deadpool that we're getting, anything.
But yeah, I think that's an easy one, Deadpool over Fantastic Four. But I look forward to the future of both franchises and seeing them continued under the MCU umbrella. But with that, on to the next one, where we have a 3 versus a 14 in Captain America the Winter Soldier versus Iron Fist, which I would wager is the worst of the Netflix Marvel properties.
Mm-hmm. Going up against the best Captain America movie that there is. Again, coming back to Bucky carrying the MCU. His name is in this movie title. And the movie is about him. It's his movie. And
I have been thinking about this more recently, just because, like, you know, you got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier and stuff like that. Thor Ragnarok and Spider-Man Homecoming, Captain America the First Avenger. You don't get a lot of character name : another character name. That's it, and like it stands out and it's funny to me now every time I think about it. That is just like, imagine if they were like Hawkeye, Black Widow,
Spider-Man, Doctor Strange. That's what they call
exactly.
It.
It's just funny that this one works for some reason. Like Captain America the Winter Soldier, like that flows off the tongue and makes sense as a title, but like any other superhero, and I think it gets fucking weird. Captain America, Falcon.
Yeah, it doesn't really work. But with Bucky, it just works. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Well, I guess
Thor, Loki.
Basically, though, the Avengers, Loki. You know, like they're huge. Bucky, you know, and that's the thing about these shows that we'll keep continuing to say, is that these shows allow us to love these characters even more and realize their, like, the roles they really had in the MCU beforehand. And I mean, Bucky, Loki, and the Falcon, like and Wanda and Vision, like we've only loved them more after these shows.
And Clint Barton.
Sorry.
I certainly didn't fuck with Clint Barton beforehand, and afterwards I'm fucking with Clint Barton a little bit, and like that's saying something, because I really didn't fuck with Clint Barton. But yeah, Captain America the Winter Soldier, the assassination of Nick Fury, the folding in of Natasha Romanoff and Chris Evans, sort of like rapport there on screen was really fun to watch. And I mean, Bucky being Bucky, or Bucky being the Winter Soldier, I should say. He's definitely not Bucky.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is just a fucking great movie,
Mm.
and it's got that. It is the best example of the like real world Marvel thing that they've tried to like pull off. I think in terms of like grounded in a certain degree of realism that's not like Guardians of the Galaxy and shit like that. You know, like this is the best example of grounded Marvel.
Mhm.
And I mean, it still has a fucking Triskelion that launches off the ground and can shoot everybody within fucking everywhere around the world.
Fair. Even as being grounded as it is, yeah, they could. It's still the MCU. Still got to have
Exactly.
something
They
in
can
there.
still do some shit. But no, Robert Redford is in this fucking movie, so like it's just like it's a pretty legendary movie. And I mean, Agent Carter, we got Sharon being a bigger part of this movie than she. This is ultimately what leads to her becoming a fugitive of the law, as we see get picked up in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But yeah, this movie is just too fucking good. And I don't really remember Iron Fist. I was high off painkillers after a knee surgery when I watched it. So not exactly my bag, but
That's fair. Yeah, I think I don't think it's gonna beat out the Winter Soldier though. That's for sure.
no, it's just not. It's just not. But with that, on to the next. And we've got a 4 versus a 13. And What If versus Iron Man 2.
I mean, I know I'm very, very high on What If.
No, yeah, and I would also agree that for you, it's probably just a much grander margin than mine is.
But I love Iron Man. I love me some Iron Man. Elon Musk is literally in this movie. So like,
True.
this would be a movie that, could do some stuff for me. But What If is,
I think if it just had like a stronger on the villain side of things, like Whiplash is cool, and
I want my board.
Justin Hammer is like is a fun foil to Tony Stark, played by oh shit, what's that guy's name? Because he's hilarious. Sam Rockwell. As Justin Hammer is just fucking hilarious. But it's not What If, like What If it just ends up being too fucking good for Iron Man 2 to be in the conversation with it. But there's some awesome parts of Iron Man 2, and I think that Iron Man 2 and 3 kind of get reflected on a little bit more poorly than they should be.
But man, this even like What If started as a Star Wars Visions, kind of show where every episode was entirely different. They didn't correlate at all. You kind of maybe got some idea of like a very, very loose connection between them, but it was just, more for jokes, if anything. But then like seeing what it turned into, episode 7, and then of course the finale, like, was a very different show than what we were all expecting. And it just made it even better. Like, I think the show, if it did just stick with what it was and was more of like a Star Wars Visions with no connection between, it would still be a fantastic show. Like, just the concept of we can literally do whatever we want, and it's just a fan service show, basically. Like, here you go. And that's what they did. And they can tickle like every fan's like itch that they need. They tickled my Ultron itch, like, I am completely satisfied, and like people who love Captain Marvel, like, we saw Captain Marvel take Ultron to the center of a planet and just start wailing on him, like, or like beat
We
Thor.
got Thor versus Captain Marvel.
And like we finally got that, that
we got
answer.
Frost Giant
like,
Loki.
Yeah, like there's so many things in this show that are just awesome. Thanos as a good guy, kind of, like T'Challa was, he's T'Challa enough to convince Thanos to be on his team. And like, yeah, just, you can't get those
Captain
in movies.
Carter.
Yeah, like, they have to have these small, like, contained stories in order to get stuff like that. They're not going to spend millions and millions of dollars on a movie where they have these concepts in there. So I hope that What If just continues and just keeps going, and it's basically just a comic book show. Because, I mean, basically every every episode is just a different comic book issue, and you're just getting that storyline. I hope they just continue it.
Yeah, it's a really fun show, and like the more I like, it's another one of those that's like the further removed we get from it, the more I realize just how much fun I had every Wednesday when it was coming out. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that and Hawkeye, like they just keep aging better and better for me. But yeah, I'm with you. What If over Iron Man 2 pretty much every day of the week. It's not real close. But
what
on to the next.
If ponder
What
the question.
If
yeah, man, that I should really know his name because I
me.
love everyone.
Jeffrey Wright.
Okay. Yeah, his voice, he's like he's like a
ponder the question. What if?
I feel like he's the next like Morgan Freeman.
Oh, dude, I love Jeffrey Wright.
Like he just needs to be the next narrator for everything. Because his voice just works. And it, like in
this story, I find to be particularly heartbreaking.
Oh, God, like, and it's kind of funny that like his role, like in Westworld, is kind of similar-ish to like the Watcher, in a way.
Now let me ask you this: we get Jeffrey Wright, clean shave face and head. He popping up in Multiverse of Madness as the Watcher. They made him look like him on purpose, like a little bit, like enough.
That's true. Like because previously we saw the Watchers as very pale.
Yeah, like, big white babies.
Yeah, so like they made that's true. I never even thought about that. They definitely made him look like him on purpose. I don't know if he's popping up in Multiverse of Madness.
But he's popping up eventually.
I definitely see Owatu and Doctor Strange being like buddies though. Like being friends, like they, he's the only guy he can really go to, to talk. Like he's the only guy he can interfere with without breaking. I don't know. I guess we still don't really know like who he answers to and like where his rules even come from, or if it's just like his own rules, like. But yeah,
maybe we'll get that expanded on in What If. Apparently, like season 2 of What If is like not only going to put forth new stories, but we're going to expand on the stories of characters we were introduced to in season 1 of What If.
Yeah.
So it's like how big is that story about to become in terms of like just how far reaching it's going to be?
I wonder if they're going. So like we'll see Peggy get like her own, like storyline, which is like we'll get her own episode. We'll see like the widow back in that world she was placed in, like how she's doing and everything, which would be cool to see. Like post zombie world, but like, are they going to still tie everything back in? Is the thing, or are they just giving us like the branches of the timeline?
I don't know.
Is the thing, like, are they still trying to tie everything back in, or?
And that's the thing, too, is that depending on the success of certain things, Marvel Zombies is getting adapted into an animated series. Wow. So, like, these things will get spun off into their own animated series. Like they had, sadly, they had plans that I don't think we'll be able to see of T'Challa Star-Lord. Like, that was going to be a thing.
What an awesome character. Like, literally to the give Black Panther, that character is already perfect, but then put him to his max potential, and there he is, basically Luke Skywalker. Just the dude going around the universe saving everybody. Like, dude, oh my god, like definitely, I see that like him having like his own show, or like like
that's
that,
what I mean. Like, I think they were gonna do a whole maybe a Ravagers spinoff, like following him with the Ravagers and Thanos and that sort of vibe, but. Now who knows? But yeah, I'm with you. What If over Iron Man 2 pretty much every day of the week. And with that, I'm on to the next. If you are, we go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are.
We got a 5 versus a 12
in
Eternals versus Luke Cage, and this is an easy one. Eternals is definitely moving on to the next round, but I want to put some respect on Luke Cage real quick. I watched the first season back in the day. When it dropped, I think it was like 2017, 2016, in that range. I really, really liked that first season. Really, really liked that first season. And Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth in that, and Mike Coulter as Luke Cage. These were just like, it was like a really fun portrayal of this character, and it went really, really smoothly without feeling like forced or pandering or anything. Then season 2 takes a step down for me. It's like, I think that came out like 2019, and like the season like kicks off with Luke Cage like doing a dab, the dance move. And it's like, at that time, it had already been like 3 years since the dab was cool.
Oh.
So it was like, wow, the people writing this just certainly aren't as in touch as they were a couple seasons back.
I see.
Huh.
I mean, I can't really speak for Luke Cage. I've only seen like the promotionals and stuff. Like, this was a pretty like largely advertised show. I remember like seeing the trailer and advertisements for this like everywhere when it was coming out.
Oh yeah. This was a big deal when it was coming out, and the first season deserved that. Like the first season is a really, really entertaining watch, and I strongly recommend it. But you don't need to watch beyond the first season.
But man, the Eternals, like, this is a movie where like, okay, it's obviously not like my most enjoyable movie of the year. No Way Home kind of takes that by a pretty large margin, but Eternals was not honestly that far off of like how I just enjoyed the movie. It's a different enjoyment entirely.
That's what was crazy about this like back half of the year, is that we got hit with Shang-Chi in September, and I was like, oh well, fuck yeah. And then we got hit with Eternals, and I was like, holy shit. And then we got hit with Spider-Man No Way Home, and I was like, I was Howie Long, I was Adam Sandler and fucking Uncut Gems. Oh my god, I'm gonna come. I was like, this is fucking incredible. And I will say Eternals ended up shaking out to probably being third on my list in Marvel movies this year, just because I loved Shang-Chi so much. But that just speaks to the level of Marvel movie we got this year, I think. And Eternals was fucking grand. I loved it.
Just the execution of all these characters and making us care about all of them individually, and then having them all come together for, one big fight at the end. And I mean, this really was the first movie that broadened the scope of Marvel a whole lot more. Like, this brought Celestials into the game. Hiroshima, like, we opened the movie with like a Star Wars text, thing. Like, they needed some lore. Beginning. Yeah, like they needed some lore for this, and like, it's crazy, like the stuff they introduced, and like, makes sense that it came before a No Way Home, where they're just trying to get us as comfortable as possible with all these concepts. And I mean, they just killed it with Eternals. This cast just works so well together. The more found family, they do feel a whole lot more like a family, even though if they have some relationships in there. But it's better, better than Loki, the way they handled, their relationships there. So these feel more, these feel better.
Genuine.
Yeah, genuine. Yeah. But yeah, I love Eternals. A lot of rewatchability, even though it's an incredibly long movie.
It never feels like it. Like, I was rewatching it, and we were just getting to the end. Like, there's like 30 minutes left in the movie, and I felt like I'd been watching it for like an hour and 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But like, I've been watching it for 2 hours.
And that's the thing, is that it really doesn't stop. Like, it is important throughout the entire movie. Like, the things that are happening are very, very important. Like, even when it does slow down, it's very crucial, like conversations that are being had, and like gathering people, like, so it's like a very long movie, but it doesn't really slow down. And that's kind of why it does feel, that you're not watching it for 2.5 hours. And that's incredibly hard to do. And I mean, you said like there were people in your theater that got up and left, like whenever they saw like Hiroshima or whatever, like for the first time, they were like, fuck it, like too much. But this movie's not for everybody, but like it, I don't know. I thought they did super well on it, and the cast was just fantastic. Every performance was great. The story like everything they had to do, even within the 2.5 hours they were given, like that's still like an incredibly short amount of time to accomplish what they did. And man, I'm just good year of Marvel.
I'm real high on that movie.
Oh yeah,
I really, really enjoy it.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, Eternals over Luke Cage all day. That's an even wider margin than What If and Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, I say we get on to the next. On to the next. We've got a 8 versus a 9 again in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Captain America: The First Avenger. And I think this one's closer than you might initially think. Like, Captain America: The First Avenger to me seems the obvious choice, which is interesting considering it is the 9 and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the 8. But when I consider just how much I enjoy like the first 4 or 5 seasons of that show, that's over 80 episodes of television, I'm pretty sure, compared to this 2 hours.
It's a lot of content. It's a whole lot of content.
Like, if you love that found family aspect, you're getting the shit out of it here in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's kind of like the whole point. And me and Emily just started to watch. She's never seen it. It's a rewatch for me, but I'm just really excited and like thinking about where the show goes and stuff as I'm watching it with her. I'm like, you are gonna like this. Like the twists and turns it takes down the road, and it gets big. Like there comes a point where you're like, okay, this can officially not be MCU canon. Like it's like, because if it was, there'd be something else happening here. Like someone else would be handling this problem.
Yeah, I gotta watch it. I definitely have to watch it.
Dude, it's really good. And it gets out there because it ended up going 8 or 9 seasons.
Damn.
So they got really fucking far out there by the end of it. But the first few seasons, it's really grounded, and it deals with the Winter Soldier has a tie-in at one, not Bucky literally, but the movie Captain America: The Winter Soldier has kind of a tie-in because Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D. is a big part of the story, and when S.H.I.E.L.D. falls, that's a part of their show because,
of course, like
duh. And that whole thing unfolding, the betrayal you see, and the love between characters and stuff, like it's a really, really good show. And Captain America: The First Avenger, while an enjoyable movie, I don't think it quite stacks up to the enjoyment I've gotten out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over the years. I also have like a weird nostalgia thing with it too, because I did start watching that when I was like 14, and I've been watching it ever since. But like, so like maybe that has something to do with it. But I'm comfortable with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. being the victor over Captain America: The First Avenger.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, because I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I don't like hate Cap. I just really didn't enjoy his movies as much as everyone else's. Like, I don't know. I think really Cap is carried by the characters around him, not just Bucky, like Peggy, and like I don't know. I really think, I don't know. Cap's story maybe is just too simple. Like he's just good guy Steve, you know, and that's basically all there is to him. But like I've never seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I am like, for the hatred, I know like that this show like was done dirty, or like I don't know. I feel like they just that's what I've heard, is that like,
well, it is done dirty. Like because the initial vision for it was it being an MCU tie-in show. Nick Fury makes an appearance. Samuel L. Jackson makes an appearance in like the first couple episodes. Like Maria Hill, Kobe Smulders, who's Nick Fury's right-hand man in the Avengers movie, is there every once in a while. Like there's mentions of Natasha Romanoff, and Colton talks about how he found Thor's hammer in the middle of the desert. And there are storylines that are built off of him surviving the stabbing that Loki deals to him in Avengers. So like the initial vision is that this is the first MCU tie-in series, and eventually the movies got to a point where they completely neglected it. Like the Darkhold is in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. it's now being revamped with Agatha and Wanda and all that. Ghost Rider was a part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we're probably gonna get a recast of Ghost Rider. I really hope we don't. I really loved the guy that they got for Ghost Rider in this.
Nicolas Cage?
It is not Nicolas Cage, but that'd be fucking hilarious. No, it was Luna. What's Gabriel Luna, I think is his name. But he did a fucking fantastic job as Ghost Rider. Like Agent 19 Mockingbird shows up at one point, which is now Hawkeye's wife.
Sick.
So like it's just like the MCU has completely and utterly ignored it, and probably with good reason. They probably do have a lot better opportunity to revamp this stuff in a more fun way, but like it was just kind of like, well, you've already used it, and they're just kind of like, well, fuck it. It won't even matter what happens in that show anymore, and that just kind of sucked.
Yeah, I was just going back and forth, like making sure like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. could pass on, Cap, and I'm already comfortable with that, but like looking at who it's facing next round,
neither of them were making it past the second round.
Yeah, and that's not the point of this tournament, So I don't like to do that a whole lot, like look forward and see like who it's gonna face and whatever.
But this one was one where I was like, let's give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the win here today. Captain America's solo movie just won a couple matches up there. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gets this nod, and it'll go on to face 1 seed Spider-Man No Way Home versus 16 seed X-Men Origins Wolverine. And I think Spider-Man No Way Home and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be facing off in the round of 32.
Couldn't really be any more polar opposite. Here. This is the widest of widest margins that there possibly could have been. I think, let's see. I guess we have Hulk versus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Logan versus New Mutants, and Infinity War versus Last Stand. But this one is like
a cut above.
Yeah. No Way
and a cut below.
Yeah. So this one's pretty easy here. No Way Home, just you know what? While we're here, if you're going to see No Way Home, like still, and it's we're much past release time. Don't cheer anymore. We're past that time.
We're past that time.
Get caught up on movie theater etiquette. You can cheer only whenever they're all swinging off of each other, off the Statue of Liberty. That's the only time you can cheer. That's it.
Yeah, and if you want some more information on movie theater etiquette, definitely head over to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where we very recently talked movie theater etiquette on what I believe was the episode titled, what would that have? Give Me Ralph Boner, I think. It's called Give Me Ralph Boner.
A classic.
A classic indeed, over on patreon.com/CoroBloom. But, yeah, I think that kind of, and I don't even think we really need elaboration. No Way Home beats X-Men Origins Wolverine, and it's not close. And with that, we're on to the round of 32, and that'll be happening next week. Let's go through this real quick. I'm gonna give you a rundown of what the round of 32 is going to shape up to look like, who's facing who, where. So on the part 1 side of the bracket, we have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse going off against Hawkeye in the round of 32. We have Deadpool 2 going off against Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. That's an interesting one. I've never really considered those opposites. But we've got WandaVision going off against Iron Man.
The guy who's responsible for her father's death against her. Let's go. It's poetic.
Let's do it.
It's working.
It always does. Guardians of the Galaxy versus X-Men Days of Future Past. Found family, X-Men, Guardians.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'll call it there. Shang-Chi versus Spider-Man Homecoming, the 2 of the best solo origin movies in the MCU. We've got The Falcon and the Winter Soldier versus Captain Marvel.
That's a good one right there.
That'll be a fun one. We got Spider-Man 2 versus X-Men First Class, which is an interesting one. And then we've got Logan versus The Amazing Spider-Man, which is another fun one. But on this side of the bracket then, We've got Avengers Infinity War versus Thor Ragnarok. This is the more fun side of the bracket. Avengers Endgame versus Spider-Man from 2002, starring Tobey Maguire. That's one I never would have thought about putting opposite. Do I like the first Spider-Man movie or Avengers Endgame more? Doctor Strange versus Avengers Age of Ultron. Black Panther versus The Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Daredevil Netflix series versus Black Widow. Captain America the Winter Soldier versus Deadpool. What If versus Eternals. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Spider-Man No Way Home.
There it is.
That'll be the round of 32. And hell yeah, I think that concludes the round of 64 and thus the Penny Bloom podcast this week. I was Colton Robertson, joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it is always a pleasure to have you. And if you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where, like I said earlier, we've got a bunch of exclusive content, including plenty of MCU talk, including the preparation for this bracket. And just before we started this part 2, we did a little theorizing as to what to expect in Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man projects in the future, and so on and so forth. You can always count on us for some extra MCU talk. But also head to Twitter and follow @PennyBloomPod. Follow on Instagram @PennyBloomPodcast. You can vote on this whole tournament on Twitter @PennyBloomPod. I'll have that all posted up with it. If you're liking me and Joe, check out our 52-year journey through film, where we started with a movie from 1970, and week by week we're working 1 year after the next. We've done 71 and 72. 70, 71, and 72. And I believe this week is 73's American Graffiti. So I'm very excited for you to hear that. Yeah. So if you would, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Keanu Reeves.